Buckeye Nation, what's poppin'? Crazy Dog coming at you once again on the Buckin' Crazy YouTube channel with an absolute banger of a video for you guys today. As of course, Ohio State has begun its preparation for the Cotton Bowl, which is on New Year's Eve. So they got a little while before they play. But before we get to that, we got to find out who we got to play. And of course, you see down below, it's officially college football playoff week as the first round games officially kick off starting Friday night with Alabama and Oklahoma. And then, of course, on Saturday, we start off with the game that all Buckeye fans will be tuned into as Miami faces Texas A&M. Winner of that game faces Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. And then, of course, you get Tulane and Ole Miss, and then James Madison and Oregon. Yeah, should be a fun weekend. Hopefully, all four games are close, and I mean, I'm pretty sure the Bama, Oklahoma, and A&M Miami games are going to be close, but the next two games are probably going to be laughers, right? Of course, yeah, people are going to be talking about that all off season. Oh yeah, they allowed two freaking G5 teams, and look what happened. Now, the main part of this video. A lot of stuff to talk about. Okay. I have updates on three big time storylines for Ohio State as the offseason hasn't even begun. And I have a name already out there that Ohio State is reportedly interested in the transfer portal. And this player hasn't even officially entered yet. But teams are out there trying to influence players entering the portal, right? They throw them the money and say, hey, if you enter that portal, we could give you this bag here, right? You know what's happening. Teams may deny it, but it's happening. It's just the way the landscape is now in college football. Until they do what the NFL does and, label it tampering, which it's not. Tampering is illegal. For now. We'll see how long it's legal for, though. But you know what's happening. It's called back channeling. Under the table. Before I get into that, I also have an update on the Legend BEY saga. As according to Rivals yesterday, and I quote, from Hayes Fawcett 3, or Hayes Fawcett, the guy that makes all the cool edits for the commits. Yeah, he actually broke the news, believe it or not. But Rivals tweeted, and I quote, breaking, 4-star athlete Legend BEY will sign with Ohio State, at Hayes Fawcett 3 reports. Earlier in the day yesterday, Legend BEY had secured his release from his NLI with Tennessee, and the moment that news broke, the expectation was he was going to sign with Ohio State. And sure enough, when he turns 18, he will sign on the dotted line and become a Buckeye. Like he should have been all along. But of course, that whole story is just way too long to talk about on here. I could do a whole ass video talking about the Legend BEY saga. It's messed up. Like, I have never heard of anything like this happening ever. But of course, as they say, there's a first time for everything. This might not even be the last time either we see something like this happen, where a player's parent tries to influence a move, right? Because remember, originally, Legend BEY committed to Tennessee. And then in November, he visited Ohio State, and then shortly after, flipped his commitment to the Buckeyes. And from that point on, the expectation was he was going to sign with Ohio State. Well, like I said, he's not 18 yet. So for him to sign, he would have needed a parent's signature. And apparently his mother wasn't so keen on him joining Ohio State because apparently she made a trip out to Knoxville to secure the paperwork for Legend BEY to flip back to Tennessee. So there was that whole drama, right? And then on signing day, out of nowhere, because nobody saw this coming, not even the writers or reporters for Ohio State, nobody saw him flipping back to Tennessee. And then, boom, out of nowhere, despite the fact he had a table decked out with Ohio State stuff, Legend Bay shocks everybody, even the people at his school. Yeah, they didn't think he was going to flip, but he did. He flipped back to Tennessee, and literally from the moment that news broke, there was already talks about him flipping back to Ohio State and signing with the Buckeyes. Then all this stuff came out about his mother apparently forging his signature, which is messed up beyond belief, believe it or not, right? His brother apparently took over his social media accounts, and it's a whole ass soap opera with that, right? But, good news is he secured his release from Tennessee because there was no way in hell that Tennessee was going to have that on their team. All that drama, the baggage surrounding that situation. So Josh Heupel did the right thing and they secured his release, and he's going to send with Ohio State when he turns 18 next week. Nice. Love to see it. A good old happy ending, right? Now, from there, let's talk about this transfer portal target. And it's a big one. As according to Zach Alboverdi from Gators Online, this, of course, comes courtesy of the Scarlet and Gray podcast on Twitter. Shout out to them if they're watching. I quote, Ohio State has expressed interest in Florida running back Jadan Baugh, according to Gators Online's Zach Alboverdi. Now, here's the interesting thing, right? We take a quick peek at Ohio State's current running back depth chart. Obviously, you have Bo Jackson, you have Isaiah West, you have Turbo Rogers, and you're going to have Favor Aki coming in this upcoming recruiting class. Boy. So you're probably wondering, why would Ohio State go after a guy like Jadan Baugh? Well, let's take it back a few years, right? We already had Travion Henderson. Yet they still went out and got Quinshon Judkins. As you know, Ohio State really doesn't just have one certified ball carrier. They like to split carries, preserve the running back's stamina and health and legs throughout the season. After all, it is a longer season, and if you're Ohio State, you're expecting to play well into January and, I was going to say February, but you never know with the way this expansion thing is going. They might have us playing in February, the way things are going. But yeah, you're expected to play into January, deep into January, right? So you need depth, and adding a guy like Jadan Baugh to go along with Bo and Isaiah and Turbo and Favor, that would be nice. What about James Peoples? Well, if you ask a Buckeye fan, or any Buckeye fan on Twitter and social media and on YouTube and stuff, the expectation is he's probably going to go in the portal. And I think that's best for him. I'll be shocked if he stays. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are also wondering, why would we add Jadan Baugh? What would he bring to Ohio State? Yeah, bell cow. Mm-hmm. Jadan Baugh and Bo Jackson with a little bit of Isaiah West and Turbo Rogers. Now we're talking. Yeah. Now, would this be on the level of Quinshon and Travion? Really? It'd be up there. But those two were elite. Now, see, Bo Jackson is only a freshman. We expect him to get better in every aspect. Stronger, faster, better. Sound like Kanye West. Better, stronger, faster. Yeah. He's going to be much better next year as a sophomore. Not to mention, Jadan Baugh is going to be a junior. And if he does what he did at Florida this year with us next year, if, of course, he comes to Ohio State, which you don't know if he will, I wouldn't be surprised if he follows his old running backs coach and goes to Texas, which would mean Ohio State would have to face him next year. That would be tough, right? But if he essentially duplicates what he did this year with Florida with his new team, he's probably going to go in the draft next year as a junior. So you would probably only have him for 1 year, which wouldn't really hurt our timeline, right? But also it would preserve the legs of Bo and Isaiah and the other running backs. Of course, Legend Bay. Can't forget about him either. But I don't know how much of him they're going to use at running back. He might be more of a receiver. But one thing I forgot to mention, Carlos Lachlan was his recruiter. So you know he's going to play some running back. But I feel like they're going to have Legend all over the place, doing everything. Running the ball, catching the ball. Hell, they might even have him throwing the ball every once in a while. Just to really throw a defense off. Right? Run a freaking jet sweep with Legend Bay. You're thinking, oh, he's going to cut up field and take off. Nope. He's going to sit back and go, yeet, throw it downfield to a wide open receiver, but he's going to expect him to throw the ball. Huh? Oh, that would be the ultimate gotcha moment right there. Whew. That would just add another element to this offense, right? Wow, Ohio State utilizing trick plays. That's something you don't see much because we don't need to utilize trick plays. We could just beat you straight up. I don't know what they're going to do with Legend, right? Of course, we have to wait for him to sign first. But yeah, adding Jadan Baugh to this offense would be elite, given what we already have at receiver and tight end and stuff. Yeah, it's going to be fun. Now, for some other big time news, we go to the coaching staff, as apparently Ohio State has begun conducting interviews for the vacant offensive coordinator / wide receiver coach job. As according to Matt Moscona on Twitter, and I quote, source, Cortez Hankton has interviewed for a position on Ohio State staff. Doesn't clarify which position, although we can assume it's probably either the OC job or wide receivers coach. Most likely the wide receivers coach. That's what we assume here. Hankton has served as wide receiver coach at LSU since 2022 and added co-OC duties in 2024. Lane Kiffin brought George McDonald from Ole Miss. OSU is replacing Brian Hartline, who worked with wide receivers in addition to his OC duties. Hartline is the new head coach at USF. And speaking of our old friend Brian Hartline, for anyone wondering what's he doing with his new digs, from Pete Nakos, I think this was yesterday, and I quote, Brian Hartline is expected to hire Tim Beck as his offensive coordinator at USF. Oh boy. Have fun with that one, Brian. You're going to need it. Good luck. You're going to need it, buddy. He stunk here. Wish him the best. Right? Wish him the best. CBS first reported Beck's name was tied to the opening. Yeah. Have fun with that one, Brian. Maybe he'll do better for you than he did with us. Now, one thing about Cortez, and one thing I've learned is when it comes to hiring a coach, regardless of, NFL or NCAA, you can usually gauge how good of a coach that dude was based off of that fan base's reaction to him leaving. Which, when it comes to Cortez interviewing, right? News got out and LSU fans are essentially pushing him out the door, which should tell you a lot about him as a coach. Not very good. I guess he fumbled a lot when it came to recruiting. Now, he did technically land DeCorian Moore, but then Moore flipped to Oregon. So, yeah, he landed him and then fumbled him. Of course, you don't want to confuse him with Mickey Joseph, who I think would be the one guy we'd really want. But I don't think that's going to happen. But you never know. But yeah, it's good to hear that Ohio State has begun looking for a new OC / wide receivers coach. I don't think it'll be Hankton, but we'll see. So that's pretty much all I got for this one. As always, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll be live on the main channel for 3 of the 4 college football playoff games. I'll be live on Friday night on the main channel for Oklahoma, Alabama, and then on Saturday, doubleheader for you. I'll be live, of course, for Miami and Texas A&M, and then I might go live for Oregon and James Madison. We'll see, though. But yeah, it's officially college football playoff week, which means the college football season is quickly coming to a close already. Of course, just a few weeks away from the transfer portal opening and then all hell breaking loose again. We'll see how aggressive Ohio State is. And of course, if I hear anything else about potential transfer portal targets, and of course the OC and wide receiver coach hires, then I'll have videos for that. Of course, when it comes to transfer portal targets, I think we can already think of a few names that are probably going to be Buckeyes. Dominic McKinley, D lineman at LSU. The expectation is he's probably going to transfer to Ohio State to follow his brother. Haven't heard anything yet on that. Of course, we're all waiting on Chaz Coleman, all right, from Penn State, seeing what he's going to do. But also, I want to see what happens with this team up north situation, right, with their coach. Are there going to be any players that Ohio State tries to snatch from them, right? We'll see. So, that being said, I'm Crazy Dog coming at you, as always, on the Buck and Crazy YouTube channel. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell if you've made it this far. And I'll see you guys later. Go Bucks. OH. I'm out. Bye-bye.